So this is probably one of the hardest videos that I had to do, but God really has been pushing me to tell my testimony to help you guys in this area, because if one thing that you know about me is I'm gonna always be honest and blunt on my channel, because that's the only way that you can help someone, grow and just manifest into what, where they want to go and what they want to be. And so I want to start off by saying that I thank God for protecting me. I thank God for just caring about me and loving me so much to where he wouldn't let me sit in something that's not for me, um, and things of that nature. And so I thought he was my husband, but God revealed the truth to me. That's the title. And so I recently learned about God's perfect will and God's permissive will. And so they may sound the same, but they're actually not. And so before I get into that definition, I want to read, because I looked up the definition of kingdom spouse and God ordained spouse. And the first thing that I want to say is there's nothing wrong with the two. God created both. They essentially mean the same thing, but they do have different definitions to them, and stuff like that. And so again, I want to thank God for even just giving me the strength to do this right now, because I'm still healing. I'm still trying to process of like what happened in the feelings, and just trying to process it all. But I do want to say that this word is not for everyone. Okay. I want you to take this video back to the Lord. Okay. I don't want you to think, oh, God, Kaya told me to let go of this person, this, that. No, I want you to listen to God's voice on this. If he tells you to keep watching it, okay, and stuff like that. So I looked up what kingdom spouse was and God ordained spouse was. And so what I got was kingdom spouse. While both terms generally refer to a spouse chosen by God for a person, kingdom spouse often symbolizes the idea of aligning with God's kingdom values and living a life dedicated to serving God together. And then God ordained spouse focus more on the belief that God specifically selected this person to be your partner, signifying a divine chosen union. Okay, and so God brought back to my remembrance when everything was happening and I was processing. God brought back to my remembrance that I actually used to pray that before all of this happened, before God revealed to me in a dream, before I had that dream, I used to always pray, Lord, align me, me and my partner, whoever that is, put us on the same path together to where we're gonna, live for you together, serve you together, be in alignment with you together. And so when he led me to look up what kingdom spouse actually meant, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. That's exactly what I used to pray for. And so, words are very powerful. Whatever you put out there in the universe, whatever you pray about, whatever you talk about, that's what's going to happen. And so I didn't realize that I was praying the very definition of a kingdom spouse. Again, there is nothing wrong with a kingdom spouse and there's nothing wrong with a God ordained spouse. They both mean the same thing. They're just on different levels. Okay. And so, learned that, right? And so a little bit of backstory. I met this person when I was 12 years old in church. Many of y'all know that story, but for those who don't, met him, walked in, I heard a voice in my head that said, that is your husband. I didn't know who was talking to me, and stuff like that. And so we ended up dating until 15 years old. We broke up, and then I told him, God is going to bring us back together some way, somehow, and stuff like that. And he kept trying to get back together with me, but I was dealing with homosexuality at the time and suicidal thoughts. And so I really couldn't take on anything extra on my plate. And so I told him no. And so 9 years went by, was dating women left and right. And then I was like, you know what? I'm tired of that lifestyle. I want what God has for me. And so 2022, I prayed to the Lord. I was like, Lord, you bring me who you want me to be with. and I just want to achieve the life that you have for me. And so I began to work on my relationship with God, and things of that nature. And so, when you pray something to God, the enemy is right there and he's going to send the counterfeits. And so, I started to, again, deal with the counterfeits that were coming into my life. I obviously knew that were counterfeits, and things of that nature. And so, wrote down the stuff that I wanted to see in a man, and things of that nature. And so January 30th of 2024, God finally answered my prayer, and stuff like that. And, he showed me a dream of that same person that I was with many, many years ago proposing to me. Okay. And so when I woke up and I asked God, I said, God, what does this mean? And God was like, that is your husband. And so many of you may be wondering, okay, well, God didn't answer you. What are you talking about? This is what I mean by perfect will and permissive will. And I'm going to read that right now. Perfect will is the perfect will of God refers to his ideal divine plan and purpose for humanity and individuals. It is what God truly desires, his best, flawless, and fully aligned with his character and purpose. And so one of the examples is God's perfect will for Israel was for Israel to follow him wholeheartedly and live in obedience, but they often strayed. And then you have Romans 12:2, and then you got Jeremiah 29:11. You can go and read that for yourself, so you can get a better understanding of what a perfect will is. And then a permissive will refers to what God allows to happen, even if it's not in his perfect desire. It includes human choices that may not align with his ideal plan, yet he permits them, sometimes using them for a greater purpose. And the example of, permissive will is God's permissive will allowed Jonah to initially run from his calling, even though he wanted him to preach in a certain city. And we all know that story about Jonah, how he was swallowed up in the belly of the whale for 3 days because he was running from his calling, but God allowed that for a greater purpose. And so, and I have scriptures that are popping up right now so you can better understand what permissive will is. And so, time went on. This person called me after that dream and stuff like that. And we began to talk, date, whatever you want to call it, court, and things of that nature. And so one thing about me, during that time, I was really trying to get closer to God. And so I went to God about everything. And I mean, like down to the T, like what conversations to have with him, how do I need to move forward? Like in my heart, I was doing the right thing. And so, I was putting God first. That's what you're supposed to do. And so, time went on, we're still talking and stuff like that. At this time, we were long distance. And so I was praying to God to move. Not only did I want it to be closer to my family at the time, I wanted to be closer to him, okay? And so, was praying to the Lord for me to move, and things of that nature, because I got tired of being long distance. And so, during that time, now again, no hate to the person, okay? I still love them, and stuff like that, but people grow apart, people grow up, And so what made me not think that there was anything wrong was because not only was I talking to God and he gave me confirmations on it, this person, they were very sweet. They were very understanding. They were, listening, great listener. They would push me towards God, to read my Bible. I was literally on, my knees day in and day out for this person because, again, I thought he was going to be my husband. And so I was doing what, a person does. And so, but the one thing that I do want to say is that God was teaching me how to be a wife at the time. And so he was prepping me for it. And, God, when you're praying for something, God is going to prepare you for that thing. And so that's exactly what he was doing. And so, I would, again, talk to God all day, is this the right person for me? I want to make sure he's not another counterfeit, and stuff like that. And it's like God allowed me to God allowed me to think, yes, this is the person that I have for you, and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can go all the way in. I'm doing God's will, you know, and stuff like that. And so I went all in to where, you know, I started to turn this person into an idol. And so I didn't even recognize that the idleness snuck up on me. And so, sometimes I wouldn't pray to God, and stuff like that. I would just go straight into thinking about this person or talking to them, and things of that nature. And so, God had to really, really, during that time, God was teaching me, okay, no one comes before me. And so he allowed a situation to happen to where I didn't even talk to this person for 2 months. And so I was very angry. I was very frustrated. I'm like, bro, what in the world happened, and stuff like that. And it's because I was turning this person into an idol. And God is a jealous God. He doesn't allow anything to be before him. And so, once I recognized that I had made this person my idol, right? Um, you know, I repented, and things of that nature. And I got back in the forefront with God. I got back in my relationship with him, and things of that nature. And, you know, they came back. God allowed the communication to open up again. Because again, around this time, I was still long distance. I was in Florida, and things of that nature. And so, time went on, right? And we're getting closer at this point. We're getting closer, and stuff like that. And then it's like another thing, like this person was my best friend. This person literally was the love of my life, literally. And so, I mean, I've known this person, for half of my life. So again, I didn't think nothing was wrong. You know, how the way it went, God brought them to me because that's what I was, that's what I was thinking at the time. And I truly believed in that. And so, time went on and September rolls around. God opens the door for me to move back home. And so I'm like, yay, because that's where this person was. And I'm like, God, if this is your will, show me a sign and stuff like that. And so he gave me a sign that it was okay for me to move back home. And so I did. And everything changed. And so when I moved back home, I noticed that like he wasn't really talking about God anymore. He wasn't, he still was making me feel like the absolute most princess in the world. But I noticed that he wasn't talking about the things of God anymore. And I'm like, okay. And I kind of felt guilty because I stopped praying for him because I had other things that I needed to focus on, and things of that nature. And so I thought it was my fault, and stuff like that. And so I felt really guilty. I'm like, oh Lord, I stopped praying for him. Is this my fault? Am I self-sabotaging myself and stuff like that? And God had to really calm me down and be like, you're not responsible for anybody's salvation. You're not responsible for anybody's, unless I tell you to pray for them. And that era is already over with, because I was preparing you to be a wife, and things of that nature. And so, and so, it's just, and so, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, again, this is one of the hardest videos that I ever had to make, and stuff like that, but I really want to help somebody in this situation. And so everything was going good. This person really, really made me happy, and stuff like that. And, everything was good. But God, again, time went on. I found, God led me to, church, and things of that nature. And so, because I haven't been in church in like 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's been a long time since I've been in church. And so, the second time I came to that church, I got prophesied to, right? And the prophecy was, there's a person attached to you that you need to let go of. As soon as you do that, your life will flourish. And I'm like, I had like 3 people come to my mind. Like somebody that I used to babysit that was connected to my old life. the person that I was dating and another person that I was talking to. And so, at first I was like, I was confused. I was like, what are you talking about? Because again, I held so hard to this person to where if somebody even mentioned something bad about this person, I would go off. And so, I didn't think it was anything wrong with it. Now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, wait a minute. You were a little too held, and stuff like that. You had your grip on him a little too much, instead of having your grip on God like that. And so, I was very confused. I'm like, okay. And so, I was battling. I was battling with that because I'm just like, I know what God told me to do. And it's just like back then, I was like, you know what? You have to stand firm on what God has told you. It doesn't matter what nobody else told you. You have to stand firm on what God has told you. And it was really in my mind heavily to where it's like, I was not going to let this person go. I don't care who said anything. It could be the devil, and stuff like that. And, again, God allowed that to happen for his greater purpose. Okay. And so, was getting closer to God, was getting closer to him, and things of that nature. And so again, I noticed that he wasn't talking about God anymore. It was just something different. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And so one day we got on FaceTime, right? Because I had to do something. And I brought up a memory from when we were like 14 years old. I remember around that time I gave him like a necklace or a teddy bear or something because I wanted him to remember me, like when he missed me or whatever. And so he stopped and looked at me, and he was like, I put witchcraft on you, right? He said, that's the reason why you can't let me go. And that is the reason why you keep coming back in my face. When I tell you my face went blank, my heart went down into my stomach. I felt betrayed. I felt, I can't even put into words right now what I felt like, because I'm like, this man is supposed to be my best friend, somebody that I grew up with, my childhood best friend, the love of my life, my everything. And he did that to me. And so it's like, I tried to play it off to where, because it's like my mind wasn't registering what was just said to me, and things of that nature. And so I was like, okay. And I was like, well, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Ha 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 ha. Like I tried to play it off, and stuff like that. And then it's like the conversation switched quickly and he started talking about something else. And so, the week after that, got on the phone with him again, right? And so he was like, I have to talk to you. I recently found another faith, and stuff like that. And mind you, I've been talking to him for, we have talked, we have talked about the important questions. We have talked about the important things, and this never once came up. And so, we were on the phone, right? And he was like, this is either gonna make or break us. And I'm just like, what is this dude talking about? Like, I can't handle any more stuff. And so, he was like, I am of a different faith, and stuff like that. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. This. And in my head, I'm like, are you kidding, dude? Like, again, you waited this whole entire time to tell me this. You could, how many conversations that you could have told me this about? And so, played it off again, got off the phone, and I just felt so, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now? And then like in my mind, I was like, well, maybe I should have listened to that prophecy. Maybe I should have listened to, the person that God allowed to come and tell me, this person is not it for me. And stuff like that. I felt very ashamed. I felt embarrassed. And so, I'm still, again, trying to process my feelings, because the one thing that hurted the most was I cannot believe that my best friend would do that to me. I didn't really care about what he said about him being of a different faith and stuff like that, different religion or whatever you want to call it, and stuff like that. Because anybody that knows me, the three main things that are very, very important to me is my faith, my finances, and my future children. And those things have to align, or, I can't be with you, and stuff like that. And so he knew that, and stuff like that. So again, I felt betrayal. Like, why did it take you a long time to tell me this? And stuff like that. And so it's like he almost wanted to reel me in and then do it, because he thought I was going to stay, and things of that nature. I don't know why he thought that, and stuff like that, because God is not going to let me be ignorant. And so, I broke down, because again, I cannot believe the person that I put them on a pedestal right next to God. And God was like, no, I'm first, and stuff like that. And so and the one thing that he's reminded me of right now is I never once got mad at God. Like, because it's like when, when it happened, I was like, wow, I kind of felt a sense of relief, and stuff like that, that I didn't have to worry about this person anymore. I felt freedom. I felt okay, and stuff like that. So later that day, I ended up blocking him on everything, and stuff like that. And again, I felt relief. I felt freedom. I felt a weight lift off of me. And so, around that time, I was like, God, I need to fast, because again, I don't know what type of witchcraft he did on me, and stuff like that. I need to fast. I don't know what he put on me. I can't hear you right now because my thoughts are jumbled together. I can't focus. Okay. And so I told God, I was like, give me a minute. Let me process this, and stuff like that. And I will talk to you to try to get an understanding of what the hell happened, and stuff like that. And so, God's permissive will was being done in my life. And so God allowed that, not only for his greater purpose, but for the women and the men that are going through that as well, and stuff like that. So, process the feelings, and I'm still processing feelings, and things of that nature, because there were a lot of stuff that reminded me of him. And so, my mind tried to take me back to that state. And so, before I blocked him, guys, I almost forgot about this. Before I blocked him, right, I got on the phone with him again, one of our regular conversations. And so I confronted him about what he told me, like when he put witchcraft on me. I kid you not, this dude literally looked at me. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, yeah, you do. You told me this around this time on this day. I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that. You must be thinking about another man. From that moment, I knew, okay, I need to move on. And it's like, I heard the Holy Spirit say, shut up, listen. And this man literally went off on me after that. You really gonna let me go because we're not aligned and this, that. And I'm like, sir, you're literally saying all the reasons why I should let you go. Yeah, you may be my best friend. Yeah, I grew up with you, but this is not it. I will not allow myself to settle, okay? I'm not gonna allow it. And stuff like that. I want God's perfect will to be done in my life, not his permissive will, and stuff like that. I didn't ask for any of this. And so, he hung up in my face, right? And that is when I blocked him. And that is when I felt the relief. I felt freedom. I felt okay. I felt happy, and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, there's a sign that I need to pay attention to. And so, again, time went on, processed the the feelings and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, God, I'm ready to understand why you did this to me. And so he was like, first he was like, there's nothing wrong with you. He was like, I allowed this to happen, not just for you, but for my people. He was like, because the one thing about me, I don't like to talk about things unless I have experienced it myself. I don't like to come on my channel talking about stuff that I haven't experienced for myself. And so you really got to be careful what you speak out into the world and stuff like that, because I know this is for somebody. I know this word is for somebody and things of that nature. God wouldn't allow me to go through all of that if it wasn't for nothing and stuff like that. And so he was like, I knew that I could trust you. I knew that you wouldn't deny me. And so the one thing that really took me for a curveball was I felt peace throughout this whole process. And I said, okay, God, what was that? And he was like, you were comfortable and you were mistaking that for peace. You were comfortable because this was the person that you knew. This is the person that you grew up with. You were comfortable and you took your eyes off of me. And I was like, wow. It's like all of the pieces were just coming together. He was like, it's like he was rearranging puzzle pieces in my mind and they were like all fitting. And so I was like, wow. So do not mistake your comfortableness for peace, okay? When I blocked him, that was peace. I felt true peace. I felt peace comes with freedom, okay? And so during this whole process of me praying for this person, me dating this person, me talking to this person, right? Again, I felt that calmness, but I also felt pain as well, right? I also felt a lot of pain. And so I was ignoring that pain. I was like, okay, maybe I'm stressed about my other bills. That's why I'm paining. But no, I also felt pain in this whole entire situation because, for when we were long distance, I missed him, and stuff like that. And so he was like, you were comfortable. You did not feel peace. And so, again, during this whole time trying to get understanding of what happened, right? And God revealed something to me. He was like, he did not want to answer the calling that I had over his life. He said, there was nothing wrong with you. You answered your calling. You were obedient to what I told you to do. He didn't want to do that. And so I wasn't going to allow my daughter to sit in pain. I wasn't going to allow my daughter to sit in idleness when you're doing what you're supposed to do. And so he was like, he is on a different path. You're on a different path. I'm writing you another story. And I'm like, wow. Okay, God. I said, I'm going to let you write me another story. I said, at that moment, I had to make a decision to let this person go truly. Because it was definitely a baseball bat to the face. I was not expecting this. It was really a twist, a plot twist, and things of that nature. And so, but God didn't allow it to happen until I was in the right heart posture to receive it. See, back then, and even just a little bit before this happened, I wasn't in a heart posture to receive anything, because again, I was really, really stuck on this person. I was like, okay, God gave me the signs, the dreams, and everything. Like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. So there's no way that is going to happen to me. And so I wasn't in a heart posture to receive anything new. I wasn't in a heart posture to receive if God needed to move because he was seeing things that were happening behind my back, which clearly he did. And so he waited for me to get into the right heart posture to receive the understanding of what was happening. And so, you know, again, you know, if this resonated with you, because God is going to reveal some things to you, and stuff like that. And so this was definitely a lesson learned for me. Like I said, still process, still healing, because I cannot believe this person did this to me, you know, and stuff like that. Definitely an eye opener and a plot twist. Oh, and another thing that I want to say is, before he told me that he put witchcraft on me, I actually prayed to God and I was like, Lord, I said, remove the blinders off of my eyes to anyone who does not have the best intentions for me. And that is when all hell break loose. When I tell you, when I would look at this man again after that, it was never the same. I saw his spirit. I saw the things that he were carrying. I saw that he wasn't what I thought he was. And so I was like, this can't be real. I was so in denial, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? I want what God has for me more than this person, more than this situation. I have felt pain this entire time throughout this whole process of God prepping me to be a wife, and stuff like that. But God got the glory, right? God got the glory. You know, again, God allows you to go through certain things, not only for you, but for his people, so you can teach them, so you can learn from it. And what I learned from this is, again, how to pray over your husband, how to intercede for your husband, how to be a wife, how to take care of certain things in a relationship, how to respond right. There's a lot of things that I learned that I needed to learn before God brought me the real thing. And so now I pray, Lord, bring me my God ordained spouse. Bring me someone that you have specifically chosen for your union and your plan that you've already made for me. And so it's like, even just that, it changed my perspective on even how I pray, you know, and stuff like that. And so, you know, again, it definitely allowed me to grow closer to God and growth within myself. And so I'm very, very proud of myself, because for one thing, God didn't allow me to settle, and I didn't allow myself to settle. And so if you're in a situation to where it looks perfect, you know, and stuff like that, but there's just one thing that is going against the three main things that are in your life. First, you got to know the three main things that you're just not letting up on, that are deal breakers. And so once you recognize that and you notice that everything else aligns, but it's that one thing that is very, very important to you, you got to know when to let go. And so God was like, now I can bring you who I have for you, because you passed the test. And the reason why I passed the test was because I didn't settle. I actually gave that confusion, that anger, that actually gave that to God. And I allowed him to pour into me the understanding of why this happened, why he took me through it. And I let go of this person completely, you know, and stuff like that. And so God was like, I can now bring you who I have for you. And it's like my eyes are so big. And I was like, at first I was like, God, I don't want anybody, like not right now. You know, I'm trying to get myself together. I was like, I can't possibly think about another relationship right now. And he was like, I understand. He was like, I understand. But let me work it out for you. let me bring you the things that you have been longing for. Let me perform a miracle for you. And I was like, okay, God. I was like, okay, you're just gonna have to help me on that. You're gonna have to give me strength and peace about it, and things of that nature. And so, man, God is so good. God is so good. And then also too, God was like letting me know that I was leaning on my own understanding the entire time. And what my own understanding was, okay, this is the person that I grew up with. I've dated him before. I know what to expect, and things of this nature. I know this person. He would never hurt me like that, not in that way. And so, God reminded me of the scripture, Proverbs 3:5. Lean not, trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and lean not into your own understanding. And so even in that, I learned you really have to lean on God. You really have to focus on God in this God ordained journey, when you're praying for a husband, because at any moment, the Lord can, not the Lord, but the enemy can use that lean on your own understanding and twist it up to where you don't think anything's wrong. You don't think you're under delusion. You don't think that there's anything wrong. You think that you're doing it right. But in reality, you're leaning onto your own understanding and not focusing on God. And so, there was a lot of things that I learned. There was a lot of things that were taught. But again, all is going to be well. I'm happy. Again, it took me a long time to do this video because I really had to process what happened, what was going on. And I just really had to spend time with God and things of that nature. And that's another thing, how I knew it was the right choice, because I didn't get mad at God. Like it actually brought me closer to him, and because that's how much I trust God with the plan that he had for my life. And so, and things of that nature. And so, yeah, I really hope that this video helped you in somewhat type of way. I know I was all over the place, but again, I'm still processing, and stuff like that. And so I love you guys. God loves you. Remember, take this back to the Lord. Don't just take my word for it. This is not for everybody, okay? This is for the people who are going through the same thing that I went through. And just pray from now on that God's perfect will be done in your life, and he will do it for you, okay? And so that is all I have for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.